One of the points I made in my sermon this past week about persecution is just fundamentally we shouldn't be surprised or shocked by it. We should expect it. And one of the reasons why we expect it is because Jesus spoke about it so frequently and said it was going to happen. It was going to arise. And in the parable of the sower, which I briefly mentioned and quoted from, Jesus talks about this. Now, the parable of the sower, it's the first parable that's found in Mark's gospel. And Mark's gospel, scholars believe, is the first to be written down. And Matthew and Luke, most likely, were aware of Mark's narrative as they were composing their own gospels. So the fact that the parable of the sower is the first parable we find in Mark's gospel, and it's included in Matthew and Luke, tells us this is a very foundational and important parable of Jesus. And he explains the parable to the disciples because we're told they don't get it. And so often I think the disciples are not portrayed maybe quite as well as they could have been because their lack of understanding then enables Jesus to repeat things and to make it clearer so that we all can understand. So kudos to the apostles for their gracious humility and allowing this to happen. So Jesus says that the sower sows the word. The ones who are sown on the path is Satan immediately comes and takes away the word that is sown in them. And then he has those who are sown on rocky ground, and they are those who hear the word and they immediately receive it with joy. And then our verse for the day, Mark 4:17, but they have no root and endure only for a while. Then when trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately they fall away. And so, again, I know it sounds like a small thing, but it's not if trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, it's when. And again, by the time the Gospels were being written down, some decades after Jesus' physical life and ministry, part of why persecution is spoken about so much is because the early church had already faced it and was facing increasing persecution and opposition. And so how do we want to be? Well, we don't want to be like those sown on rocky ground who fall away when trouble or persecution arises. And we don't want to be like the next group, those who are sown among thorns, but the cares of the world and the lure of wealth and the desire for other things come in and choke out the word. No, we want to be like the good seed, those sown on the good soil who hear the word and accept it and bear fruit, 30, 60, and 100-fold. One of the things we've been talking about as a staff is the decline in Christianity in America, the decline among what are called the 7 mainline denominations and also the Southern Baptists. And it's really remarkable to think that since 1970, there's been more than a 25% decline in the number of white Christians in America. We need to do a better job of sharing and sowing the seed so that we can reach more people and bring people to Christ because there's a tremendous lack of faith in our country. And whether that's because it's getting choked out by the desire for wealth or people falling away because of persecution and trouble, we want to be good soil and also good sowers.